Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dowden. We are back and covering Death Knights. As a rogue, I hate Death Knights, I'll be honest. In general, they have way too much healing. I feel like Unholy doesn't get enough play, and you don't ever want to face a blood DK in World PvP. But let's cover these glorious bastards and see if they're overpowered again. Yay, Blizzard. Anyway, let's take a look at them. First of all, we have Blood DKs, which are red. They basically are staying in the core playstyle, but they are changing around their stats and resources like runic power and runes, and which abilities consume which resources to make it more meaningful, just so you don't have to figure out what you're supposed to use the abilities for, to make sure you're not locked out of your playstyle. Basically make them simpler to play. These Crimson Soaked Knights bend the very rules of mortality to control the front lines of the battlefield. That's actually a pretty cool flavor text. For how much I don't like Death Knights, that's a cool flavor text. Alright, let's take a look at some of the abilities. Blood Strike. One rune, instant strikes an enemy causing moderate physical damage and inflicting the victim with Blood Plague. Generates 10 bonus runic power. Blood Plague, disease that heals minor shadow damage of the cast and heals of the caster for more maximum of their health every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. A disease that deals minor shadow damage and heals the caster 1% of health every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. That's actually pretty cool. 1% for every 3 seconds is not a lot, but I like the whole, like, you siphon life out of your enemy every time you deal damage. And you generate rune power. Alright, so runes, alright. Marrow Rend. Oh, Marrow Rend, like bone marrow. 2 runes, melee range. Oh, by the way, runes are all death runes now for all Death Knights. No need for, like, or maybe blood all against blood runes. But rune colors don't matter, and rune styles don't matter. You just get same runes, so it doesn't matter. 2 runes, melee range, instant. Smash the target, dealing strong physical damage and generating 3 charges of Bone Shield. Bone Shield surrounds you with a barrier of whirling bones that reduces all damage taken by 25%. Each damage attack consumes a charge, lasts for... Okay, so it's more control for all your PvE boss fights, so you have more control in terms of when you want to reduce damage. Death Strike, 40 runic power. Notice runic power is what it takes now. Instant, focuses dark power into a strike that deals strong physical damage and heals you for 50% of all damage taken in the last 6 seconds. Minimum 7% of maximum health. Interesting. If you're below 35% when cast, all runic power is consumed, increasing the potency of the healing effect. More control for your own self heals as a Blood Death Knight. Interesting. Very interesting. I kind of like that. It's a lot like what a Paladin, but a Paladin kind of just heals himself every like 12 seconds or whatever. These guys strike your enemy as hard as you can to draw health back. I like it so far. Self heals for a Death Knight, or at least a tank Death Knight, I feel like fits the actual spec playstyle. Mastery, Blood Shield. Each time you heal yourself with a Death Strike, you gain 40% of the base amount of healed as a physical damage of Blood Shield. Oh, so you can basically get like 90% health restore with Absorb. Interesting. Increase your attack power by 20%. Death and Decay, 1 rune 30 range, corrupts the ground targeted by the Death Knight, causing moderate shadow damage over 10 seconds to targets, and while you remain in target area, your Blood Strike will hit all nearby enemies. AoE mechanic. Crimson Scourge, passive. Your successful auto attacks on targets inflicted by your Blood Plague have a 25% chance to reset the cooldown of Death and Decay. So you can basically use Death and Decay for more damage in PvE, maybe in PvP for AoE fights. I'm not really getting the Crimson Scourge, but so far I like the changes to the playstyle. It's more about hitting your enemy as hard as you can to gain yourself a shield, and with some damage reduction, but you are losing block, so maybe that'll be like a thing. Some of the here's some of the talents, or a talent. Here's a talent to give you a look at how you can build upon your core rotation. Bone Storm, 15 runic power per second, instant 1 minute cooldown. Whirl of Bone or Gore batters nearby enemies 3 times per second to deal minor shadow damage, healing you for 1% of maximum health per strike. Bone Storm, that's the ability from ICC raid. That's I think the first boss of ICC, the Bone Storm ability. I like the incorporation and I like the effect of it, so that's good AoE strike, it feels like. I feel like it will be better as an AoE, but could be a single target as well. I don't know how Blood DKs will be in PvP. Hopefully they'll see some play with maybe some healing reduction or maybe not too much damage dealing. But PvE wise, PvP, they might not be the greatest. Rating, they're probably pretty solid. Take a look at the Frost Death Knights. I hate Frost Death Knights. This is gonna be fun. Those Death Knights are born of frost, rhyme gripping their decaying hearts. So basically the playstyle is the same. Blizzard have decided that their playstyle is interesting and they like where it's going, but they are limited to two-handers rather than, no, dual wielding rather than a two-hander now. So the playstyle is going to be different. I don't think it will be too much. One thing they did change is the kill machine procs are now going to be only for obliterate, to make the so you don't have to, you know, not spend your resources anymore. So you can just continue on spending resources and deal damage without being limited and without ruining your rotation. Howling Blast, 1 ruin instant, blast a target with frigid wind, dealing minor frost damage and minor frost damage to enemies around him, inflicting targets with frost fever. And frost fever is a disease that deals minor frost damage, as a chance to grant Death Knight 5 runic power every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. What? Runic power all day, dude. That's all they're gonna be. Obliterate, 2 runes, melee range, a brutal attack with both weapons that deals massive physical damage. Frost Strike, 20 runic power, instant, chill your weapons with icy power, and quickly strike an enemy with both weapons dealing massive frost damage. So, runes and runic power to deal frost damage, while keeping 1 dot frost fever on your enemy. Rhyme, passive, your Obliterate has a 45% chance to cause your next Howling Blast to consume no runes, generate no runic power, and deal 300 additional damage. This is why I hate Death Knights, there's so much damage, why? Killing Machine, passive, your auto attacks have a chance to make your next Obliterate automatically critical strike. Okay, so only Obliterate is fit to this, so they don't need to watch out between Frost Strike and Obliterate. It makes sense, because if you're dual wielding, you roll about Frost Strikes, and Obliterates you were with the 2-hander, so you were saving it for PvP, and now you can just keep spending them, because it's only your Obliterates that can crit even, so it doesn't even matter, because you're forced to use these dual wield weapons anyway. I guess it makes sense, makes it a little bit easier to play. Remorseless Winter, 1 rune instant, radiate extreme cold, deal moderate frost damage to all enemies. Remorseless Winter! That AoE ability, talent. So that's how you deal AoE now. You can Howling Blast, but now you just bam. Remorseless Winter at all times. So that might even come into play as a single target ability, I feel like. Maybe, we don't know. Frozen Heart, which is the mastery, increases all frost damage down by 40%. Death Knights, Frost Death Knights are going to be so easy to play, I feel like. Just damage and damage and damage. Hopefully Outlaw Rogues have something to counter that somehow. Maybe even more damage. But we'll see whenever we can. Alright, so to give you an impression of how some talents might build upon the core rotation. Glacial Advance, 1 rune, instant, 12-second cooldown. Summon glacial spikes from the ground that advance forward, each dealing moderate frost damage to nearby enemies near the eruption point. It's like that Lich King ability from Heroes of the Storm. They're basically stealing, they're taking abilities, but it'd be so cool to see them in WoW. Oh, that might be cool. Just a glacial advance, just ice, I wonder if you can use that in PvP. I don't think so, it might be slow of an ability, but DK is looking strong and solid so far. I hate you. Alright, Unholy, which is what I'm excited for. Unholy Death Knights are vicious melee combatants capable of unleashing pestilence that will bring their foes to ruin. Now, the change to Unholy is the only big change for Death Knights, as they want to make it more dot-based of a DK spec. So you have your Blood DK who heals, then you have Frost DK who deals instant damage, and now they want to make this one, the Unholy spec, a bit more about the dot-based mechanics. So their mechanic for fighting and ability damage is changing a bit. Outbreak. 1 rune, 30-yard range, instant, 6-second cooldown, deals minor shadow damage to and surrounds the target in miasma, lasting for 6 seconds, that causes target and all nearby enemies to be infected with Virulent Plague. So basically a Howling Blast for Unholy DKs. Virulent Plague, a disease that deals moderate shadow damage every 3 seconds for 21 seconds. It erupts when the infected target dies, dealing more moderate shadow damage split between nearby enemies. So if a guy your target dies, it spreads the dots more to people. The disease also have a 30% chance to erupt each time it deals damage, so a chance for disease to just erupt. So they basically get Necrotic Plague, basically, that has a chance to spread to enemies. Interesting. Festering Strike, 2 runes, melee range, instant, deals massive physical damage and infects the target with 1 to 3 festering wounds. What are festering wounds? A festering wound, a puzzle-ridden lesion that may burst by Scourge Strike, dealing moderate shadow damage and generating through runic power. So you basically make a tumor, and as many as you can. And when you use Scourge Strike, you deal shadow damage and generate runic power. Scourge Strike, 1 rune, melee instant, and a holy strike that deals strong physical damage and strong shadow damage. Triggers a single attack of Festering Wound if it's present on target. So you would use Festering Strike to put tumors on the enemy to stack them, and then Scourge Strike your enemy away. Interesting. Or you would probably do like Festering Strike, Scourge Strike to get as many of those Festering Wounds out while having an Outbreak on target. Death Coil, 30 runic power, fires a blast of unholy energy at a target, causing strong shadow damage to an enemy and restoring 10 energy to your ghoul. Sudden Doom passive, your attacks have a chance to make your death coil cost runic power. That has been there. Dark Transformation, instant. Transform your ghoul into Undead Monstrosity. That's been there. The ghoul's ability is empowered. Death and Decay, basically the same deal. I would think the ground Death Knight causes moderate shadow damage over 10 seconds to target in the area. While you remain in target area, Scorch Strike will hit all nearby enemies, so that's more of an AoE playstyle, taken from Blood Decays. Mastery, Dreadblade, increase all shadow damage down by 50%. So, these guys, they said they want to make more of a dot mechanic, but they didn't quite end up doing that. But they basically made him a lot like a lot like a. I guess the dots are stronger. The dots is better because it has a chance to erupt, dealing more damage. But they're a lot like a Frost Decay, Howling Blast on an enemy. Then you have Faster Strike to stack a debuff on an enemy, and then you stack it, and then you just Square Strike to really just unload everything altogether. Then you have Death Coils for the runic power, and you still have a Pet and Dark Transformation for the burst. Interesting so far. I'm liking this change to Death Knights. I mean, Unholy Death Knights. I've been a fan of Unholy. But Frost? I ain't dealing with Frost. To give you an idea, what some of the talents might build up on this core rotation. All will serve. Passive. Your Raise Dead spell summons an additional skeleton minion, and its cooldown is removed. 2 minions with you. I wonder if both of them get a Dark Transformation then. That'd be kind of OP. That's pretty awesome. I'm liking the change to Unholy DK. I was going to call them Affliction Death Knight for a second. Unholy Death Knight. I like the change to them because they're more of a self-sustained Death Knight. They're not pet reliant like a Hunter or a Warlock, but they're self-sustained, seems like, and they do have a pet as a part of their main damage mechanic. But I like the self-reliance of Festering Strike to make the festering wounds happen, and then Scorch Strike to just deal damage and shadow damage, physical damage, and force the festering wounds to like proc or blow up. Plus the Outbreak does have a bit more of a dot-based mechanic to spread around and have a chance to just explode out of nowhere, to burst, to erupt. I like it. So far solid, and I'm liking it. I would play Unholy for sure. So what do you guys think about the Death Knight changes? Lots of fun. I'm really hoping to try myself out some Unholy. Frost basically staying the same, and for Blood Death Knights, I feel like they made them a bit easier to play in terms of PvE. But hopefully we'll see all 3 of the specs on the PvP battlegrounds. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Darren. I'll be covering more classes, I believe, right now, because I should be releasing more in a bit. But thanks so much for watching this video, and hopefully you enjoy this. Hopefully, let me know what you think about all your Death Knight changes, any Death Knights in the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.